And we're live.
Okay, good afternoon, warrior friends of mine. Thank you for joining us today. I have a wonderful warrior friend, JP Watkins, joining me. He is from California. He comes from a under-resourced and abusive background. He's a junior high school dropout, double convicted felon who has been on the road of redemption for the last 20 years. In spite of his peppered past, he earned his GED, BA, and Master of Arts degree. He has worked in human services for 20 years, working with various vulnerable populations. He recently moved to California from Ohio to explore more opportunities to pursue his purpose and launch his public speaking business. So let's welcome JP. JP, go ahead.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, Debbie. I just really wanted to take the time and thank you for reaching out to me and connecting and collaborating with me. I'm overly honored, and I appreciate your work, and I appreciate this opportunity.
Excellent. Thank you, JP. It goes both ways. It's awesome.
Awesome. So, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You go ahead.
So, just kind of to piggyback on your interview that you had with the other gentleman, you said acceptance is everything, and that really registered with me. So, I thought that would be a good place for us to kind of, because acceptance, I think, is a continuum. It's a spectrum, and on the one end, the end that I really try to tap in is because I work with under-resourced people. I've come from that background, is to help people understand that they have to accept some responsibility in their attitude, accept responsibility in terms of asking for help and accepting help, right? Then on the other end, it's accepting others. We know how it feels to be isolated, to be marginalized, to be demonized. So I think we also have a responsibility to accept others, right? So that whole continuum, acceptance, like you said, acceptance is everything, and I think that's huge. And there's so much opportunity for us to learn and grow, and most importantly, heal and help each other.
Heal, yes, I totally agree with you, because when we come together and help and learn from each other, we're going to heal whatever's going on inside of us, as well as support others in their healing journey as well. So that's, yes, indeed.
Yes, well, I think a big key, some of the things that I see our support group, and I'm in several different support groups, is a lot of people feel helpless and they feel hopeless. And I'm thankful that they speak out, because it's like, I feel worthless, or I feel like I don't have no value. I just want to end it all. And so my plea for them is to say, hey, you know what? Just pause. I know it's cliche. I know you get tired of hearing it's going to get better. Hang in there. Because when you're going through that emotional urgency, you just feel like nothing I do matters. Nothing I say is going to make a difference. You feel powerless. So the big thing that I really try to stress is that you do have some power. And one of the examples that I use is, like I said, I worked in human services for like over 20 years. I took care of a young man. He had a brain aneurysm. So he couldn't talk, walk, nothing. He was totally helpless. If we didn't feed him, we didn't change him. He would just lay there and literally, he was totally helpless, right? Now, if you look at a baby is basically helpless, right? They can't feed themselves, they can't clothe themselves. But what does a baby do? A baby cries. It's just instinctive, right? And when that baby starts crying, what were you going to do? We're going to pay it attention. We're going to say, why is the baby crying? Is it hungry? It's got a fever? Do it need to be changed? So that cry is getting attention. that attention is power because that's getting that baby the result. Hey, I'm hungry, I cry, I eat. I cry, I get change. So what I'm trying to explain to grown adults and other people, not to diminish their challenges, is that we do have some power. Even a baby cry and can attract some attention, right? So imagine what we can do if we're willing to actually ask for and accept and take responsibility of our attitude. If we say, "Oh, it don't matter, nothing's going," well, we got to take some responsibility. Nobody can change us. I used to always tell my kids, "Look, when you got to go to the bathroom, only you can go. No matter how much I love you,
That,
you got to go to the bathroom for you. I love you to death, but there's some things that we have to do for ourselves,
yeah.
and that's the part of the acceptance piece that I think is really important, especially for members in our group."
Well, and you bring up a good point, JP, because with babies, when they cry, they're reaching out, they're asking for help. Us as adults, somehow along the way, we've been convinced it's not okay to ask for help, and it's not okay to not be okay. Whereas we need to ask for help, and we need to know that it is okay to not be okay. And I think the most important thing is when you're suffering in any kind of pain or struggling, you you have to be validated. So, like with your loved ones, talk about it. If you're feeling down and in a dark place alone, don't stay there, because that's where it gets darker and darker, right? Whereas if you reach out to your loved ones and connect with them, then you're going to start to feel, you're going to lift up. They're going to lift you up. And we have to be there for those ones that are suffering.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I like to piggyback on what you said about validation and also saying something. That is we definitely need validation. We need to know that our struggles, the people see them as real pain, and not us just, putting on a show or whatever. But
Right.
it's also important because, some of us, we come from broken homes. We come from polluted backgrounds where we don't have the luxury of just being able to, talk to mom or reach out to dad. So a lot of times, if you don't feel comfortable like saying something, write it. That's the luxury that we have now that we didn't have 15 years ago. Being able to text somebody, tell them how you feel, talk, write a note, get it out though. And if one person don't listen, find somebody who can. I always tell my kids, if for whatever reason, would never be intentional. But for whatever reason, I'm too busy or I'm too depressed or frustrated. You keep talking to
Yeah.
somebody. Take it to mom. Take it to a principal. Take it to a teacher. Take it to a tutor. Take it to somebody. And sometimes it does get frustrating. Sometimes people will intentionally or unintentionally ignore you. Sometimes, like you said, some people listen just so they can speak, right? They don't listen to understand. They're already ready to say what they're gonna say
Yeah.
instead of really validate what
Yeah.
you're expressing. So that is so
And
important
yeah.
as well.
I agree 100%. I say that all the time. Listen to understand, right? Like meet the person where they're at, connect at their level, because they may not be at the level that I'm at. And if I just put my story into what they're trying to tell me, a miscommunication happens right away because we're not connecting on the same level. And, you see that with children now, right? Like when they're having a conversation, that there's a disconnect because they're talking over each other instead of listening to understand each other. Yeah, so, okay, so tell me a little bit about how you overcame your obstacles in life. Like, where was your turning point? What happened to you to make you realize how powerful you are.
Well, thank you, thank you. Um, I've seen a quote that kind of best describes it. It says, "To win chess, you never win chess by just moving forward. You know, a lot of times you got to end up moving side to side. You move back. And that's kind of how my life has been. It hasn't just been a straight trajectory. One of the things, I think one of the changing points for me is I always felt like I had a cause of significance on my life, but I was in an under-resourced environment. A lot of people felt hopeless. You know, my mom, it was 7 of us, single mom. You know, we were poor, and the only people we seen that had any kind of material success were, you know, illegal capitalists, drug dealers, you know, criminals.
Yeah.
So I know that I didn't necessarily want to do that, but it was one of those things where a lot of times we want to be what we see, right?
Yep.
So one of the turning points for me, because I got kicked out of schools and I just know I wanted to have an education. So I remember like when I would go apply for jobs, must have a diploma or a GED. So long story short, I self-studied. I would go to the library and study. But since I got kicked out of junior high school, I knew that I wasn't where I needed to be. So I went to the kids section. Went to the kids section, started reading books. That's my degrees is in history. And I started reading kids' books because that would help me bring up my comprehension level. And then a lot of the books had multiple choice. So I was able to study in the library and you know, self-study and stuff like that. A lot of times, if I got stuck, I'd ask the librarians, "Hey, you know." Now I know that a lot of librarians actually have master's degrees. I didn't, you know. So
Yeah.
that was part of that process was taking what I wanted, and I just knew it was something driving me. But then once I became a father, that was really the big piece of what helped me. I said I just didn't want to be in and out of prison, in and out. And I knew so many people. I was in there with people that had been there 7 times, 5 times. And I kind of like interviewed them, like you interviewing me. I remember the one guy, he was so nice. I was like, "You've been here 7 times, you know?" And I was like, why? Because I wasn't trying to condemn. I wanted to understand, like, I don't want to live this life. And he said something that touched me. He's like, well, you know what? He was like, my family made doing time too easy for me. He was like, they sent me all kind of stuff. He said, I never really had to deal with the consequence. So for me, learning from others was also important. So I learned that, hey, I don't have to jump over the bridge to understand it. Not a good thing. So learning from others was a big thing. So that's what also attracted me to your platform, you know, helping others help themselves, but learning from others. And we can learn from it. They had a commercial way back years ago, I'm dating myself. So you can learn a lot from a dummy.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And that's what I told my kids. I've been that dummy. So learn from me. Don't repeat my mistakes, please.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's funny you say that, JP, because that's one of my anxieties, worries is I'm not smart enough. I'm dumb. I'm right. Like I just don't get it. But I'm mindful of it now and I'm with those thoughts and I don't let them take me down.
I commend you because your example, and that's another thing that I really feel like, and I feel like it's the most important, is an example. So the one thing that I remember when I was younger, like some of my uncles and my aunts, they would be smoking. They would say, "You don't ever start smoking." But it's like, well, what does that mean to say it? But I'm seeing you smoke. So the thing with me is I wanted to set an example for my kids of
Yeah.
not about doing what's easy. It's about doing what's right. So they see me do it. They see me, you know, working 2, 3 jobs. They see me struggling. They see me, you know, sleeping on the floor, sleeping on a pallet, barely making it, yet making an honest living and showing them that they matter by the way I spend my time with them. Because a lot of times we live in a society that praises material. Oh, you know, you bought them this and you bought them that. But how much time do you spend? Because time is your most precious resource. That's the only thing we can't replace, you know? So
And being present, right? Like being grounded and present to where you are in your environment. Plug
Absolutely.
I always tell my son, plug in your ears, look with your eyes and listen, right? And that's when
Mhm.
you're ready to take in information. If you're not plugged in, then you're not turned on. The switch is off and you're gonna be talking to a wall, right? So
Absolutely. I got a phrase. My son always laughed at me. Say multitasking is the new F. You
mm-hmm,
know,
mm-hmm,
single tasking is king. So many times we see it all the time. You go out to a restaurant, you'll see a family of four sitting, and they're all looking at their devices. Nobody has even made eye contact. So one of the things, like you said, being present. A lot of times I make my kids either not take their phones with them at all if we go out, because how can
mm-hmm.
we be present? How can I show you that you mean? That'd be just like you interviewing me now, and oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah. What did you say? I mean, it's like that's
I,
kind of really disrespectful. So it's like being present, spending
yeah,
that time with them, and when you work, work. But when you
yeah,
play. How I used to be guilty of that. I'm at home with my kids. I'm worried about this. I'm worried about work, huh? You know, and then you at work and you're worried about, well, I need to spend more time with and it's like single task. When you work, work. When you play, because that's how we be present. If I'm at work, I'm supposed to help this vulnerable population, whoever they are, whether it's
yeah,
children with disabilities or elderly. Well, I can't help them if I'm worried about the kids at home. I'm doing
yeah,
them a disservice, and then vice versa. So
yeah,
being present, I greatly, greatly agree with that.
yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, we're on the same page, that's for sure. Okay, so tell us where you're at now in your journey, like where you're at now and where you see yourself going. Like, where do you see yourself going?
Um, you know what? I've been quite one of my greatest gifts, I believe, is tenacity. Like I said, I've been on this road of redemption for like 20 years. Like once I got my master's degree, I thought I would be able to teach and then go into a PhD program. And it's not that I can't go into the PhD program, but I I just ran into a brick wall. Like, no one would let me teach. And I'm like, well, y'all let me be a student in these schools. You won't let me teach in them. So uh so where
There,
am I so where I'm at, well, the good thing is I kept pushing. I didn't give up. I didn't fall back into the criminal enterprise. So right now I'm just developing my communication gifts, and I've always been helping. What I'm doing now, this is what I've been doing for the last 20 years, whether it's been on the clock or off the clock. People know that they can call me. I'm like I was just earlier, somebody had called. I got people that I coach in general. I'm not doing so my goal is to shift to where I can not only make an impact, but also make an income doing what I love to do. A turning point was just before I came here. I was literally working three jobs. A lot of these jobs I'm making $9, $10 an hour. And the one job, the turn point was for me. I was like, why am I doing this? Why am I? I'm still in debt. I'm not spending no time with my kids, and I'm working 3, 4 jobs for what? And I was like, because I'm really operating under capacity. And I was like, I know if I get out here and get my voice out here, I can reach people, I can touch people, and I can also be able to service my student loan debt. So where do I see myself? I see myself being a successful coach, helping under-resourced people. I see myself being a powerful public speaker, speaking at schools and colleges. I've done some workshops and stuff like that. So while I'm out here in California, I want to expand my network, meet different people, movers and shakers like yourself. Um, and I just want to continue to help others. So I see myself being a national figure. I'm pretty ambitious, and my main goal is to leave a living legacy. So even after I'm gone, somebody's watching a YouTube channel or reading something I wrote or said. Because I'm also an author too. I've written. That's like I don't know if you've seen that Heat Anthony on my
Yeah.
thing, but that's one of my pen names. And I've written 8 books. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, I'm just shifting that focus from fiction to, self and personal development. So, yeah, so that's where I see myself going.
Love it. You know, one thing I can think of, like if you do end up going into the schools, one of the things that come to mind for me that's so important is to connect with the young children. Start early intervention, and teach them about compassion and empathy and patience and understanding and connection and kindness, and then let them know that if they ever feel that they're not okay, to talk about it, right? And so then as they grow older, they've got the tools. They're not going to be convinced that there's something wrong with them at a very young age. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I think that's really important for the kids of the future, especially with the way the future is going, because there's so much negative in the world.
Yes.
I like to be in my happy place sometimes, head in the clouds, but I see power there with our kids of the future. I think I could see you doing something like that with your story and just getting into those schools and being with the young ones.
Thank you. I greatly appreciate that. And you really touched on something. We are creating what we want to see. We are being what we need. Being kind, being accepting, being tolerant, and beyond tolerant, really, to really be accepting, but also being gentle, teaching them and reaching them while they're young. Because, like you said, it's a lot of bad things going on in the world, but we have to intentionally put good things in the world. So that's why your platform is so powerful, because it's not like we just not waiting for it to just fall to the wayside. We are intentionally making a difference.
Yeah.
So that's important.
One of my new warrior friends that joined us, Chantel, she posted a quote that really hit me quite hard, and it was, "We are creating history, we're not redoing it." And I just love that quote because that's what we're doing. We're bringing everybody together, connecting as one, and what a perfect world that would be, right? So yeah.
Awesome. Seeing that you really touched on something about the interdependence of humankind. And so often we feel like, oh, we don't need this, and I'm independent. And some societies they have that hyper sense of me, me, me. But if we can kind of teach those young people, it's about we. We all need somebody. Everybody needs somebody sometime.
Yeah,
nobody does it alone.
That's right.
Even as good as LeBron James is, and he's from my hometown. That's where I'm from. As good as he is, he has to have a good team. Michael Jordan had to have a team. Bill Gates have a team. So all these big people that we consider, cream of the crop or top dogs or whatever, they have a team. So we have to be the team that we need. So like I said, once again, I commend you, your community, and your work. Like you said, we're creating legacy. We're creating history. And I tip my hat to you for that.
And the other thing, JP, is when you say team, I do have an amazing team behind me, and that's my family. That's my husband, who, without him, I couldn't have done Nanaimo Unique Kids. Together, we created that. And my son, through all of his struggles, he's inspired me to be the best that I know how to be. And my daughter, she's like me. She struggles with anxiety and worry and fear and all those fun things. So she's come along and she's paving the way, and she is excited to get involved. So I can't tell you what it feels like to have so much love and connection to give back and help others and say they're not alone. I mean, like panic attacks are debilitating. You think you're dying. They come out of nowhere. You don't even know where they're coming from. So I just knew, like you, I had a drive. Something was driving me all the time. Like I never took my son's struggles as, oh, poor, like a victim. I always wanted to make a difference. I always wanted to help other people that were going through the same thing that we were struggling with, so that, you never felt alone. Support groups are so powerful. And I think if we get the neurodiversity and the normal walks of life that are highly, they're less ill than, the neurodiverse, right? But the neurodiverse, like autistic, they have so many gifts to share with us. They're so intelligent, it's your Einstein. So yeah.
Yeah, and I'd like to piggyback on a story about the neurodiverse. I went to he was actually a public speaker, and I can't think of the challenge that he had, but he couldn't stand still. Like his body was really, his motor skills, he whatever. And so when he came up, actually people are looking like, hey, what's this guy doing? And he almost looked like he could barely stand up by himself, right?
Yeah.
So he called it diversability. He said, I don't consider myself having a disability. And I never forget it, he was moving around and he took like a piece of paper, and that paper, whatever. He said, well, I can't read like this. He said, and he sat it down, and he said, and he was moving around and he read the paper. And he says, so it's not that I can't read. I just can't read the way you read. He says, it's not that I can't walk. I just don't walk the way that you walk. And he got to talking. By the time he got done talking, he had jumped out of a plane. He had ran a marathon. He was married. He was a full-time public speaker. It was awesome. And so that's why, that's one of the things that caught my attention when I heard you talking about your son about neurodiversity. And I thought about that gentleman that was talking about diverse abilities, because that language, when you say a disabled person, that's why I gave a speech one time and I said, how many of y'all want to get on this disabled plane? Nobody rose up. So why don't you want to get on this plane? Because the language, right? Something's wrong with that plane. If I say disabled, so that's why when we put people first, that's why you say, this, person with this. So you focus on the person first, and then they have some challenges. So by focusing on the person, we appreciate them. We accept them for them, their advantages and their disadvantages. We accept them for their gifts, just like us. We all have shortcomings. They're just different shortcomings. They're packaged differently,
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And the thing is, like you say, the language disallowed, disability. Well, disallowed means not, right? Like it's negative. So we've put negative to something that you were born with, that is a purpose for your being here. My son was born with his purpose. He was born with his gift. We're embracing it. It's not a disability to us. It will never define who he is. So
absolutely. So that's a great outlook. And like I said, may you continue to reach out. And I see your platform. I would like to ask you, kind of reverse it a bit. Where do you see your movement going, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years from now?
Well, it's funny because it has evolved, and I'm trying to be mindful of staying in the present, because I tend to get really excited and go ahead in
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah. So I'm trying to stay as grounded as I can, but I can tell you that I love what I'm doing. I love people reaching out to me for help. It helps. I believe I'm going to heal myself. I believe that the next appointment, maybe a year from now, they're going to tell me there's nothing there. So that's my goal. And further than that, who knows? Maybe one day I'll be a public speaker. I mean, this is out of my comfort zone completely, and I love it. I'm so comfortable in doing it. So yeah.
You rocking it out. I mean, I
Awesome.
wouldn't have known that you was out of your comfort zone. If you didn't tell me that you was out of your comfort zone, I wouldn't have known it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You come across very convincingly and comfortably. So
Awesome. Okay, well, it is 12:30. Thank you so much, JP. We will connect again and we will keep in touch. And thank you for whoever joined. I don't know who joined because I don't know, the names don't show. So, but we will have the video up and running on the group.
awesome.
And I hope that JP and I have inspired someone, planted seeds to help you grow, and always reach out. There's someone here to help you. Okay.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Have a fabulous day.
Alrighty.
Are you